Across the vast expanse of the savanna, where acacia trees stand like ancient sentinels against the endless sky, the earth trembles with the footsteps of giants. This is Africa in its purest form, raw and untamed, where every breath could be your last and every moment demands respect. In this unforgiving landscape, survival is not just about finding food and water. It is about understanding the delicate balance of power that shifts with every season, every drought, every birth and death. The Big Five did not earn their legendary status through mere size or strength alone. They earned it through their ability to adapt, to fight, to dominate, and when necessary, to yield to forces greater than themselves. The African elephant stands as the undisputed giant of this world. But even giants must bow to the laws of nature. During the dry season, when water sources dwindle to muddy pools and the grass turns to dust, elephant herds converge on the few remaining water holes. What begins as a peaceful gathering quickly transforms into a test of hierarchy and dominance. The older bulls, their tusks scarred from countless battles, assert their right to drink first. Younger males must wait their turn or risk a confrontation that could leave them broken and bleeding in the red dirt. The lion, crowned as the king of beasts, rules through a monarchy built on violence and betrayal. Within the pride, the lionesses do the hunting. But it is the male who decides who eats first. Young males, reaching maturity, pose a threat to the established order. The pride leader, his mane now showing the first signs of age, must constantly defend his position against challengers who grow stronger with each passing season. These battles are not mere displays of aggression. They are fights to the death, where the loser faces exile, or worse. The Cape buffalo, despite its herbivorous nature, embodies the principle that the best defense is a good offense. When threatened by predators, these massive beasts do not flee. They charge. A single buffalo can weigh over 800 kilograms. And when the herd moves as one, they become an unstoppable force. But within the herd, dominance is established through ritualized combat. Bulls lock horns in contests that can last for hours, their hooves churning the earth into mud as they push against each other with bone-crushing force. The leopard, perhaps the most solitary of the Big Five, faces a different kind of challenge. Without the protection of a pride or herd, it must rely on cunning and stealth to survive. Territory is everything to a leopard, and the boundaries are marked with scent and defended with claws. When two leopards meet on the same hunting ground, the confrontation is swift and brutal. There are no second chances in the world of the spotted cat. Weakness means death. The rhinoceros, armored like a living tank, seems impervious to the struggles that plague other animals. But even these giants must compete for resources. During mating season, rhino bulls engage in spectacular battles, their horns clashing with the sound of thunder. The victor earns the right to mate, while the defeated must retreat to lick their wounds and wait for another opportunity. These confrontations are not random acts of violence. They are the driving force of evolution itself. Each battle, each victory, each defeat shapes the genetic future of these magnificent creatures. The weak are eliminated, the strong survive to pass on their genes, and the cycle continues. Generation after generation, season after season. At first light, when the African wilderness begins to stir, The hush of dawn is broken only by the distant call of birds and the slow rustling of acacia leaves in the early breeze. From the golden mist that clings to the open savanna, massive gray shapes begin to emerge. The earth seems to bend beneath their heavy pace. These are the African elephants, the largest land animals on Earth, and a living emblem of the wild heart of the continent. They move in a silent, deliberate procession, led by the matriarch, the oldest and wisest female of the herd. Her large ears fan the morning air as she slowly leads her kin forward. Calves press against their mother's legs, learning the rhythm of movement in a family that never rushes unless it must. Behind them come sisters, aunts, nieces, all bound by memory and experience. Every elephant in the herd listens, not just with their ears, but through the vibrations that travel through the ground, felt in the sensitive pads of their feet. Tactile and deeply connected, their entire world hums with low rumbles and signals passed unseen. The landscape they move through is not just their habitat. It is written into them. An elephant remembers places the way a book remembers a story. Paths that have not been walked in years are rediscovered by the older females when drought or danger calls for it. These giants of the land do not roam at random. They follow ancient migratory routes, passed from generation to generation. There are secret springs they dig for in dusty riverbeds. There are trees remembered for their fruit, remembered even after years of scarcity. In a land where food and water are often seasonal, memory is survival. An adult elephant may need over 300 pounds of vegetation in a day and drink up to 50 gallons of water. In the wet season, life is abundant. Rivers swell and the savanna sings with fresh growth. Elephants spread out across the land, grazing freely and feasting on young grass and tender leaves. The calves born into this season grow strong and healthy, nourished by mothers who can feed and move at ease. Smaller herds may gather into larger groups, forming temporary communities where calves play, young bulls spar, and the air fills with the deep, rolling calls of elders. But the rains do not last. Slowly the sun hardens the ground and the colors of the land fade to gold and dust. Waterholes shrink, and with each step, elephants push farther in search of what remains. Dry branches are stripped of bark. Roots and shrubs are unearthed. Tree limbs are broken to reach a few precious leaves. These are not the signs of senseless destruction. These are survival strategies honed over centuries. Elephants are shapers of the land. Their grazing maintains open spaces. Their dung spreads seeds miles from where they were eaten. Their paths become roads for countless other animals. Even their deep footprints hold rainwater for insects and birds. The dry season squeezes all life. At night, lions, hyenas, and leopards creep close. But the herd stays vigilant. The calves are guided between the adults, shielded from what waits in the dark. Lights from distant farms flicker on the horizon. Humans now shape more of the elephant's world than the wild ever did. Crops have replaced much of the forest. Roads slice through migration paths. And where elephants once walked in safety, fences now block their passage. Conflicts between elephants and people are some of the most difficult in conservation. Elephants can destroy a season's worth of crops in a single night. For farmers trying to survive, an elephant is not a wonder of the wild. It is a threat to livelihood. Retaliation can be swift and brutal. Ivory poaching, although banned in international trade, continues to take a toll. The oldest males and matriarchs, whose tusks are largest, are still hunted in secret. Their deaths are more than individual losses. They cripple the herd's memory, its leadership, its knowledge of survival. Beyond the body's loss, the future dims in other ways. Fragmented habitats isolate families. Genetic diversity is narrowed. And as climate patterns shift, the rains come later, or not at all. Years of drought leave behind a landscape that even memory struggles to fix. Rivers that once flowed now vanish. Fruit trees no longer bear what they once did. And the old roots become trails to nowhere. Yet in the face of so many trials, the African elephant endures. Their intelligence and resilience continue to astonish. Scientists have observed elephants comforting one another in grief, returning to the bones of fallen family years later. They play, they mourn, they learn. In the company of humans they trust, they can be gentle, even affectionate. In the wild, the pressure of their presence is both a warning and a promise. Male elephants, once considered mostly solitary wanderers, have recently been seen forming complex companionships of their own. Young males band together in loose alliances, traveling and learning from older bulls, who in turn temper aggression and pass on knowledge like quiet tutors. These networks, often overlooked, highlight just how little we still know about what lies behind the dark, intelligent eyes of an elephant. Their communication stretches across landscapes in sounds too low for human ears. What we hear as a quiet rumble is often part of a conversation taking place over several kilometers. These infrasound frequencies carry through the ground and air, reaching distant herds and unknown companions. From mating calls to warnings of predators. From exploratory expressions to soothing reassurance. Elephants speak a language as complex as the landscape they roam. As the sun sets, painting the horizon in hues of amber and indigo, the herd begins to slow. Calves press closer to their mothers. The matriarch lingers at the edge of a shallow pan, her outline massive against the darkening sky. A young bull stands silhouetted against the fading light, ears flaring at a rustle from the bush. And then, only the sound of frogs and insects fills the silence the elephants leave behind. The African elephant is far more than a symbol of wilderness. It is a keystone species, a pathfinder, a gardener of the forests, and a guardian of memory. Its presence shapes everything around it. To lose it in any corner of its range is to risk unraveling the land itself. To watch an elephant in its natural habitat is to see a continuity that stretches back to a time long before people shaped this land with plows and fences. It is to witness the rhythm of something ancient and enduring. and it is to face a choice. To let these giants fade into whispered stories, or to protect what is still possible to save. The African elephant still walks the land. Whether it continues to do so in the centuries to come depends entirely on the choices made today. The first rays of dawn slice through the acacia-dotted savanna, igniting the golden grasslands in a blaze of light. The air is thick with anticipation, as if the land itself is holding its breath. In the distance, a low rumble, deep, resonant, unmistakable, rolls across the plains. It is the call of the king, the African lion, whose presence commands both awe and fear. A pride stirs beneath a lone umbrella thorn tree, their tawny coats blending seamlessly with the sunlit earth. The matriarch rises first, her muscles rippling beneath her skin, eyes scanning the horizon for threats and opportunities alike. Cubs tumble at her feet, their playful growls a faint echo of the thunderous roars that define their lineage. The males, manes dark and imposing, stretch and yawn, their breath visible in the cool morning air. The landscape is alive with movement. Herds of wildebeest and zebra graze warily, ever alert to the possibility of a sudden charge. Elephants lumber past, indifferent to the drama unfolding around them. Above, vultures circle, already anticipating the day's inevitable struggles. The lion's world is one of constant tension, a delicate balance between power and vulnerability, abundance and scarcity. This is the realm of the African lion, a world where survival is never guaranteed, and every day is a battle against the elements, rival predators, and the relentless march of time. Welcome to the heart of the savannah, where legends are born and the circle of life is written in tooth and claw. With the sun now high, the savannah pulses with life. The lions, having feasted the night before, lounge in the shade, their bellies swollen and content. Yet peace is fleeting. In the distance, a rival coalition of males approaches, their intentions clear in every measured step. The air crackles with tension as the pride's dominant males rise, manes bristling, ready to defend their territory and their legacy. A confrontation is inevitable. The two groups circle each other, tails lashing, eyes locked in a silent battle of wills. Suddenly, a roar shatters the stillness, a sound that reverberates for miles, a declaration of dominance and a warning to all who would challenge the pride. The intruders hesitate, weighing their chances. For now, the balance holds, but the threat remains ever present. Elsewhere, a lone lioness stalks through the tall grass, her body low and movements precise. She is hunting, every sense attuned to the slightest sound or movement. Ahead, a herd of impala grazes, oblivious to the danger lurking nearby. The lioness pauses, muscles coiled, then explodes into action, a blur of speed and power. The chase is brief but intense, ending in a cloud of dust and a triumphant roar. Tonight, the pride will eat. But not all confrontations are so dramatic. Sometimes the struggle is quieter. A battle against thirst during the dry season, or a desperate search for shade as the midday heat becomes unbearable. The lions adapt, moving with the herds, seeking out water holes, and resting during the hottest hours. Their lives are a constant negotiation with the land and its many inhabitants. As the rains fade and the rivers shrink, the savanna transforms. Grass turns brittle and brown. Waterholes become muddy pits, and prey animals grow thin and wary. For the lions, the dry season is a time of hardship. Hunts become more difficult as herds scatter in search of water, and competition with other predators intensifies. The pride's movements become more strategic. They travel farther, sometimes venturing into unfamiliar territory, risking encounters with rival prides or dangerous hyenas. The cubs, once playful and carefree, now cling to their mothers, learning the harsh realities of survival. Every successful hunt is a victory. Every failure a reminder of the savanna's unforgiving nature. With the arrival of the rains, the landscape is reborn. Grass sprouts in vibrant green, rivers swell, and the air is filled with the sounds of life. Prey animals return in great numbers, and the lion's fortunes improve. Hunts are more successful, and the pride's cubs grow strong on a diet of fresh meat. The pride becomes more visible, often seen lounging in the open, their coats gleaming in the sunlight. Playful chases and mock battles among the cubs are common, a testament to the renewed energy that the season brings. The lion's world is one of abundance, but the cycle of life continues. Old lions weaken, new cubs are born, and the ever-present threat of rivals and predators remains. The greatest threat to the African lion is not another predator, but humanity itself. As human populations expand, the lion's habitat shrinks. Fences, farms, and roads carve up the savanna, isolating prides and reducing their hunting grounds. Livestock replaces wild prey, and conflicts with farmers become common. Retaliatory killings, poaching, and the illegal wildlife trade take a heavy toll on lion populations. Lions are also vulnerable to disease, some of which are spread by domestic animals. Outbreaks of canine distemper and bovine tuberculosis have devastated prides in certain regions. Climate change adds another layer of uncertainty, altering rainfall patterns and affecting the availability of water and prey. Hyenas, leopards, and wild dogs are constant competitors. Hyenas in particular are formidable rivals, capable of stealing kills and even attacking lion cubs. The balance of power shifts with the seasons. During times of abundance, confrontations are rare. But in leaner months, every meal is contested. Lions are unique among big cats for their social structure. A pride typically consists of related females, their offspring, and a coalition of males. The females are the primary hunters, working together to bring down large prey. The males defend the pride's territory, their presence deterring rivals and protecting the cubs. Within the pride, bonds are strong. Females groom each other, cubs play and learn through imitation, and even the dominant males show affection to their young. But life in the pride is not without conflict. New males may attempt to take over, leading to violent confrontations and often the killing of cubs sired by previous males. A brutal strategy to bring females back into estrus and ensure the new male's genes are passed on. Not all lions live in prides. Some, especially older males or those ousted from their groups, lead solitary lives. These nomads roam vast distances, avoiding established territories and seeking opportunities to form new coalitions or take over existing prides. Their existence is perilous, marked by constant movement and the ever-present threat of starvation or injury. The African savanna is a land of extremes with searing heat and torrential rains, abundance and famine, life and death. The lions are both shaped by and shapers of this landscape. Their presence influences the movements of prey, the behavior of other predators, and even the growth of vegetation, as their hunting patterns affect grazing animals, and in turn, the land itself. But the landscape is changing. Human activity, climate change, and shifting animal populations are altering the delicate balance that has sustained lions for millennia. Conservation efforts are underway with protected areas, anti-poaching patrols, and community-based initiatives offer hope. Yet the future remains uncertain. As the sun sets, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the lions gather once more. Cubs nuzzle their mothers. Males patrol the boundaries. And the matriarch surveys her domain. The night is filled with the sounds of the savanna. Crickets, distant thunder, the occasional roar. The African lion endures, a symbol of strength, resilience, and the wild heart of Africa. Their story is one of struggle and triumph, of loss and renewal. To witness their world is to glimpse the raw beauty and harsh realities of nature. A reminder that, in the end, survival belongs to the bold. As dawn stretches its golden fingers across the African plains, the wilderness stirs to life. Mist clings to the ground in soft sheets, and the first calls of birds echo through the cool morning air. Out of the haze, dark shapes begin to emerge, slow and deliberate. Their massive profiles growing clearer with every step. It is the Cape buffalo herd, a living mass of muscle, horn, and raw survival instinct. Hundreds of them, horns curved like ancient battle gear, nostrils flaring with each breath, are on the move. Their presence is profound. The ground seems to tremble beneath their collective weight. The calves stay close to the flanks of their mothers, weaving through the maze of powerful legs, while bulls, as broad as they are battle-scarred, hold their positions along the outer edges. Every snort, every flick of the tail carries meaning. There is caution in these morning movements, not fear, but a constant calculation. Lions watch from afar, concealed in thinning tufts of grass, their golden eyes locked on the slowest buffalo. But the herd is not unaware. They move as one, clustered tightly, ready to defend their own. The Cape buffalo has long been called one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. It is not aggression that earns them this title, but resolve. When threatened, the herd doesn't scatter. Instead, it coalesces into a fortress. The strongest adults move to the front, placing themselves between the threat and the vulnerable. There's no debate and no hesitation. Their horns lower, and the air seems to vibrate with a low, rumbling chorus of grunts and breaths like distant thunder. Few predators can maintain their nerve in the face of that gathering force. A lion charge could quickly turn into a desperate retreat. As the morning shifts into midday, the heat becomes oppressive, and shimmering waves dance across the savanna. The buffalo slow their pace and seek respite under the acacia trees. Some lie down, resting heavy heads on the earth, while others continue to graze, with each tearing up thick grasses with slow, grinding jaws. Yet this calm is laced with tension. Lions do not rest easily, nor do the hyenas. Nearby, under the withered shade of another tree, a lioness lies in wait, her body pressed close to the ground, ears twitching, tail brushing the dirt silently like a metronome preparing for a strike. At the edge of the herd, a young buffalo calf lags behind. The lioness darts forward. In an instant, the calm erupts into chaos. Snorts turn to trumpeting bellows. Hooves hammer the earth like thunder, and the dust rises in blinding clouds. The lioness falters in the face of an oncoming wall of rage and strength. A pair of bulls thunder past their brethren and charge without pause. The lioness turns, vanishing back into the brush as quickly as she had appeared. Just like that, the formation tightens and the calf is reunited, shaken, but alive. Even within their own ranks, power is negotiated. Bulls sometimes clash in fierce, bone-crunching duels, their horns locking in loud, grinding contests for dominance. These fights often mark the height of the mating season, when access to females and higher rank is at stake. Dust swirls as two bulls spiral around each other, testing, locking horns, breaking free, and crashing again in thudding impacts that echo across the savanna. Eventually, one will retreat, head lowered, conceding both ground and status. There are also quieter, more intimate moments. A calf nuzzles against its mother, her tongue sweeping over its forehead with soft rhythmic licks. A group rests belly deep in a shallow waterhole while oxpecker birds flutter onto their backs, pecking at ticks and parasites. These birds serve not just as cleaners, but as watchful eyes. A sudden flutter or high-pitched screech from an oxpecker can be the first sign of danger for the herd. Such relationships, stitched into the fabric of their existence, show how deeply the buffalo is tied to the pulse of its ecosystem. In times of plenty, life is measured in slow, grazing steps. The rainy season coats the savanna in green, renewing waterholes and filling the land with abundance. Buffalo disperse slightly, following the growth of fresh grass, enjoying the soft ground that cushions their travel. Calves born into this season find a relatively gentle welcome. They take to their hooves within minutes of birth and are quickly enveloped by the protection of the herd. Predators find hunting in this season more difficult, as well-fed buffalo remain strong and numbers lessen vulnerability. The migration patterns of wildebeest and zebra often intersect with those of buffalo, and during these months, the savanna hums with convergence and abundance. But then the abundance fades. Clouds roll away, rivers begin to thin, and the unforgiving sun returns. The grasses, once sweet and green, dry into brittle stalks. The ground hardens underfoot, and waterholes shrink to muddy remnants. Herd movements become more desperate, more strategic. They follow the scent of moisture, congregating near dwindling sources of clean water. The calves, not yet hardened by previous hardships, are the first to suffer. The lions return with renewed ambition, now emboldened by hunger. The herd instinct grows sharper during these dry months. Every grunt seems to contain a second meaning. Every move is made with caution. Every step designed to preserve the group's chance of survival. In these biting conditions, grazing is longer, harder. Buffaloes adapt. They chew tougher stalks, browse on lower quality vegetation, and spend more time active during the cooler hours of dusk and dawn. Each day without rain is a gamble. Some herds cover incredible distances in search of water and better forage. Trails between dried-up waterholes grow deep with the passage of countless hooves over the years. Travelers who stray too far from the group find themselves exposed to leopards or wading crocodiles in the last murky pools. And as the landscape changes with the seasons, so do the threats. Humanity and the ever-encroaching edges of agriculture have begun to press hard against the buffalo's wild terrain. Fences now cut across migration paths. Farmers whose cattle drink from the same scarce sources of water see the buffalo less as majestic beasts and more as disease-carrying trespassers. Bovine tuberculosis, spread between domestic cattle and wild buffalo, has ravaged herds in parts of southern Africa. Other diseases, like foot and mouth, can pass in both directions, undermining efforts on both conservation and livestock fronts. Then there is conflict that turns deadly. Farmers who lose livestock to lions often blame nearby wildlife reserves and all their inhabitants, sometimes setting traps or resorting to retaliation. In a land already riddled with challenges, Each conflict tightens the pressure on these already burdened herds. Still, within their own world, buffalo remain one of the savanna's most balanced species. Their presence influences the grasses they graze, clears paths for other animals, and creates competition that shapes the behavior of Africa's other great beasts. Wherever the buffalo move, the land reacts. They are more than survivors. They are architects of the African grasslands. Their migration shapes not just vegetation, but the hunting patterns of lions, the scavenging rounds of hyenas, and even the nesting habits of birds that rely on freshly disturbed earth. The Cape buffalo is not just a beast locked in battle with tooth and claw. It is a living force that steadies the rhythm of the ecosystem. As the red sun sinks once again into the hazy horizon, the herd begins to settle. It clusters in tight formations as the heat fades into a cooler breeze. The night air crackles with the calls of crickets, rustling grass, and faraway howls. Somewhere in that darkness, eyes are watching. But the buffalo sleep with watchers of their own. Horns rise like dark sentinels against the night sky, silhouetted in stillness. Each adult is a guardian. Each calf a promise of survival. And together they continue their ancient journey across the shifting lands of Africa. In the end, the Cape buffalo is a portrait of resilience. It defends its own with unshakable bravery, confronts threats with collective force, and endures an increasingly altered world with instinct and adaptation. Its story continues, etched into the dust trails, heard in the chorus of thunderous hooves, and studied in the wary gazes of every predator who must calculate whether a battle with this beast is worth the fight. The African leopard is a creature of mystery, a solitary shadow that moves with silent confidence through the wildest corners of Africa. As the first light of dawn filters through the tangled branches, the leopard emerges, its golden coat dappled with rosettes that seem to flicker and fade with every step. The air is cool, the world is still, and the leopard's senses are alive to every sound and scent. It glides along a game trail, muscles rippling beneath its fur, every movement a study in precision and purpose. The savanna is waking, birds calling from the canopy, antelope grazing in the open. But the leopard is already at work, tuned to the faintest rustle or the subtlest shift in the wind. This is a life built on solitude and stealth. Unlike the lion's thunderous pride or the buffalo's fortress herd, the leopard is a master of adaptation, a phantom that claims its territory not with roaring declarations, but with scent marks and silent patrols. Its world is a patchwork of shadows and light, a realm where patience is rewarded and every hunt is a test of skill. The leopard's territory can stretch for dozens, sometimes hundreds of square kilometers. depending on the richness of the land. Males roam larger ranges that may overlap with those of several females. But encounters are rare and often fleeting. The boundaries are marked with the musky scent of glands and the distinctive sawing call that echoes through the night, a warning to rivals and a signal to potential mates. In the hush before sunrise, a leopard crouches low in the grass, eyes fixed on a herd of impala. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of prey. Muscles tense. The leopard inches forward, each paw placed with care to avoid the crackle of dry leaves. The impala graze, unaware of the danger that stalks them. Suddenly, the leopard springs, a blur of speed and power. The chase is short, explosive, and ends with a swift, precise bite. The kill is dragged into the branches of a nearby tree, hoisted high above the reach of hyenas and lions. Here the leopard feasts in peace, the world below oblivious to its triumph. Life for the leopard is a constant negotiation with danger and opportunity. Lions and hyenas are ever-present threats, eager to steal a meal or threaten a cub. The leopard's answer is agility and cunning. It climbs with ease, leaping from branch to branch, vanishing into the canopy when danger draws near. Even its cubs are hidden away in rocky crevices or dense thickets, safe from prying eyes. A mother leopard returns to her den at dusk, her coat dusted with the day's travels, her eyes bright with vigilance. She nuzzles her cubs, grooming them with rough affection, teaching them the art of patience and the necessity of silence. Cubs are born blind and helpless, relying entirely on their mother for protection and food. She moves them frequently to avoid detection by predators. And for up to 2 years, they learn the skills of hunting and survival through play and imitation. The seasons shape the leopard's world in subtle but profound ways. When the rains come, the land bursts into green. Prey animals multiply, and the leopard's hunts are frequent and successful. The dense foliage offers perfect cover, and the nights are cool and alive with possibility. In the dry season, the rivers shrink and the grass turns brittle. Prey becomes scarce, and the leopard must travel farther, risk more, and rely on every ounce of its cunning. It adapts, shifting its diet to whatever is available, from birds and rodents to the occasional fish plucked from a shrinking pool. This adaptability is legendary. The leopard can live in the heart of a rainforest, on the edge of a desert, or in the shadow of a city. It changes its habits, hunts at different times, and finds new ways to survive. In some regions, leopards have been observed using thorn thickets during the wet season, when impala and other prey also seek cover there. In others, they have been recorded at elevations up to 5,700 meters, drinking from thermal springs in volcanic mountains. Communication is subtle but effective. Leopards use scent marking, vocalizations, and body language to maintain their solitary existence. Their vocal repertoire is limited but distinctive, including growls, snarls, and the sawing call. Cubs use mews and other sound to call their mother. The white spots on the back of their ears and the white tip of the tail may serve as visual signals, especially between mothers and cubs. The leopard's greatest threats come not from other predators, but from humans. Habitat loss and fragmentation, driven by agriculture, logging, and urban expansion, have reduced the leopard's range by about 30% in the last 2 decades. Human-wildlife conflict is a constant danger. Leopards that prey on livestock are often killed in retaliation. Poaching for skins, bones, and other body parts, as well as poorly regulated trophy hunting, further threaten their survival. Declines in prey populations due to the bushmeat trade and habitat degradation force leopards to hunt livestock, increasing conflict with people. Despite these challenges, the leopard endures. Conservationists are working to protect leopards through habitat preservation, anti-poaching patrols, and community engagement. Monitoring populations with camera traps, genetic sampling, and GPS collars helps researchers understand leopard movements and the impact of human activities. Efforts to mitigate human-leopard conflict, such as improved livestock management and compensation schemes, are crucial for coexistence. International trade in leopard parts is prohibited by CITES, but enforcement remains a challenge in many areas. As night falls, the leopard slips once more into the shadows, its form dissolving into the darkness. The savanna is alive with the sounds of life and struggle, but the leopard moves unseen, a silent thread woven through the tapestry of the wild. Its journey continues, marked by patience, power, and the enduring will to survive. This is the soul of the African leopard, elusive, adaptable, and forever a symbol of the untamed. In the cool hush before sunrise, the African bush is a world of anticipation. The air is thick with the scent of earth and distant rain, and the first light reveals the ancient armored silhouette of a rhinoceros moving through the tangled thickets. Its skin, thick and deeply creased, catches the pale glow, and the twin horns curve forward in a silent warning to all who might cross its path. This is the black rhinoceros, one of Africa's most enigmatic giants. A creature whose presence is both a testament to survival and a symbol of the continent's wild heart. The rhinoceros is a paradox of power and vulnerability. Its body is built for endurance, with a barrel chest and sturdy legs that carry it across vast distances in search of food and water. The head is massive, crowned with 2 horns made not of bone but of keratin, the same substance as human fingernails. The front horn, often longer and more sharply curved, is a tool for defense, for digging, for stripping bark from trees, and for asserting dominance in the silent language of the bush. The eyes are small, set deep beneath a heavy brow, but the ears swivel constantly, catching every sound. And the nostrils flare as the rhino tests the wind for the scent of danger or opportunity. The black rhinoceros is a browser, not a grazer. Its prehensile upper lip is pointed and flexible, able to grasp leaves, twigs, and shoots from thorny bushes and low trees. This adaptation sets it apart from its cousin, the white rhinoceros, whose wide square mouth is designed for cropping grass. The black rhino's diet is varied, including more than 200 species of plants, but it is selective, choosing the most nutritious leaves and shoots, and often returning to favored shrubs season after season. In the wet months, when the bush is lush and green, the rhino moves with ease, feeding in the cool hours of morning and evening. Resting in the shade or wallowing in mud during the heat of the day. Mud wallows are essential, not just for cooling the massive body, but for protecting the skin from parasites and sun. As the dry season tightens its grip, the landscape changes. Water holes shrink, grass turns brittle, and the trees shed their leaves. The rhinoceros must travel farther, sometimes covering dozens of kilometers in a single night, following ancient paths to hidden springs or mineral licks. The matriarchs of elephant herds and the solitary rhinos often cross paths at these dwindling water sources, each aware of the other, each respecting the unspoken rules of the wild. The rhino's memory is long, and its survival depends on knowing where to find food and water when the land offers little. In these lean times, the rhino's diet shifts to tougher, less palatable plants, and it may go several days without drinking, relying on the moisture in the leaves it consumes. The rhinoceros is a creature of solitude. Most often, it moves alone. Its presence marked by the deep three-toed tracks pressed into the dust, and the scattered middens of dung that serve as territorial markers. Scent is the rhino's language. It sprays urine on bushes and dung piles, leaving messages for others. The boundaries of a rhino's range are invisible to the human eye, but are mapped in scent and memory, shifting with the seasons and the availability of resources. Only the bond between a mother and her calf is strong and enduring, lasting for 2 or 3 years, until the young rhino is ready to face the world alone. Occasionally, loose associations form between subadults or during courtship, but these are fleeting, and the rhino soon returns to its solitary ways. Despite its size and formidable appearance, the rhinoceros is not invincible. Its eyesight is limited, but its sense of smell and hearing are acute, alerting it to the approach of predators or intruders. When threatened, the rhino can charge with astonishing speed, reaching up to 35 miles per hour, head lowered, horn aimed at the source of danger. This reputation for aggression is well earned. And even lions, the kings of the savanna, approach with caution. Yet the rhino's true enemy is not the lion or the hyena, but the human. For centuries, the rhinoceros has been hunted for its horn, prized in some cultures for its supposed medicinal properties, or as a symbol of status and wealth. The toll has been devastating. In the last century, black rhino numbers plummeted by more than 90%. Driven to the brink of extinction by relentless poaching and the loss of habitat to expanding farms and settlements. The story of the rhinoceros is one of survival against overwhelming odds. Conservationists and local communities have fought to protect the remaining populations, establishing reserves, relocating rhinos to safer areas, and employing rangers to guard against poachers. In some places, horns are removed to deter poaching, a desperate measure that leaves the animal alive but vulnerable. DNA sampling, radio collars, and camera traps are now part of the arsenal in the battle to save the rhino. And in a few regions, numbers have begun to recover. Yet the threat remains ever present. And the future of the rhinoceros hangs in the balance. The black rhinoceros is not just a survivor. It shapes the land. Its browsing habits influence the structure of the bush, opening up pathways for other animals, controlling the growth of certain plants, and creating a mosaic of habitats that support a rich diversity of life. The dung it leaves behind is a source of nutrients for insects and plants. And the wallows it creates become watering holes for birds and mammals. In this way, the rhino is both a guardian and an architect of its world. Its presence felt in every corner of the ecosystem. The seasons bring change, and with each cycle, the rhinoceros adapts. In the cool months, it is more active, moving through the bush in the early morning and late afternoon, feeding and marking its territory. As the heat intensifies, it seeks shade, resting beneath the dense canopy of acacia, or in the shelter of a rocky outcrop. The rhythm of its life is dictated by the sun and the rain, by the abundance or scarcity of food, by the ever-present need for water. Calves are born at the end of the rainy season, when the land is green and the mothers are strong. The young are vulnerable, learning quickly to follow their mothers, to recognize the scent of danger, to find the safest paths through the bush. For 2 years or more, the calf will stay close, protected by the mother's bulk and her fierce determination. When the time comes, the young rhino will set out alone, carving its own path through the wilderness. Communication among rhinos is subtle but complex. They use a range of vocalizations like grunts, snorts, growls, and even high-pitched screams to express alarm, contentment, or aggression. A deep, resonant sound signals satisfaction, while a short, sharp snort may warn of danger. The ears, capable of rotating independently, catch every nuance of sound, and the nostrils test the air for the scent of other rhinos, of predators, or of humans. Visual signals are less important, but the position of the head, the angle of the horn, and the posture of the body all convey meaning in the silent conversations of the bush. The rhinoceros is a creature of habit, returning to the same resting places, the same wallows, the same feeding grounds year after year. These sites become part of the landscape, shaped by the passage of generations. In the heart of the bush, a well-used wallow is a patch of churned mud, ringed by the prints of countless feet. The air heavy with the scent of earth and animal. Here, the rhino finds relief from the heat and the biting flies, rolling in the cool mud, coating its skin in a protective layer that will dry and flake away, taking parasites with it. In the quiet of midday, the rhino rests, eyes half closed, ears flicking at the buzz of insects, body still but always alert. As dusk falls, the rhinoceros stirs. The air cools, and the bush comes alive with the sounds of night. The rhino moves through the shadows, its massive form almost silent. The only sign of its passing, a faint rustle in the grass or the snap of a twig. It feeds again, stripping leaves from branches, breaking small trees with a twist of its powerful neck. The night is its ally, a time of safety and abundance, when the dangers of the day recede and the world belongs to those who know how to move unseen. Yet, even in the darkness, the rhino is not safe. Poachers move by night, armed with rifles and driven by greed. The battle for survival is fought in the shadows, and every rhino that falls is a loss not just for the species, but for the land itself. The horn, so prized by humans, is worthless to the rhino except as a tool and a weapon. Yet it has become the cause of its near destruction. Conservationists work tirelessly, risking their lives to protect these ancient animals, to ensure that the dawn will still reveal the silhouette of a rhinoceros moving through the mist. The rhinoceros carries within its blood the story of deep time. Its ancestors roamed the earth when the continents were young, when vast forests covered what is now desert, when the climate was different, and the world was ruled by creatures long since turned to stone. The modern rhinoceros is a living link to that ancient world, its form refined by millions of years of evolution, yet remarkably unchanged in its essential character. The thick hide that protects it from thorns and predators, the muscular build that allows it to push through dense vegetation, the keen senses that alert it to danger. All these are the gifts of eons, the accumulated wisdom of survival written in bone and sinew. In the depths of the dry season, when the sun beats down mercilessly and the earth cracks like broken pottery, the rhinoceros demonstrates its remarkable resilience. Water becomes scarce, and the great rivers dwindle to chains of muddy pools. The rhino's body, however, is adapted to these harsh conditions. Its kidneys are extraordinarily efficient, concentrating urine to conserve precious water, and its digestive system extracts every drop of moisture from the vegetation it consumes. During the worst droughts, rhinos have been known to dig with their horns and front feet, excavating water holes in dry riverbeds, tapping into underground streams that flow unseen beneath the parched surface. The relationship between the rhinoceros and the oxpecker birds that often perch on its back is one of the most visible partnerships in the African bush. These small brown birds feed on the ticks and other parasites that plague the rhino's hide, providing a cleaning service that is both beneficial and necessary. The oxpeckers also serve as an early warning system, their sharp cries alerting the rhino to approaching danger. In return, the rhino provides the birds with a mobile feeding station and protection from predators. This ancient alliance, forged over countless generations, is a testament to the intricate web of relationships that binds the African ecosystem together. The reproductive cycle of the rhinoceros is slow and deliberate, a reflection of the animal's long lifespan and the investment required to raise a calf to independence. Females reach sexual maturity at around 5 years of age, but may not breed until they are 7 or 8. The gestation period is lengthy, lasting 15 to 16 months, and the single calf that is born weighs about 60 pounds. The mother's milk is rich and nutritious, but the calf begins to nibble on vegetation within a few weeks of birth. Learning by imitation and trial which plants are safe to eat. The horn, which will define the rhino's identity, begins as a small, soft bump on the calf's snout, hardening and growing throughout the animal's life. The social structure of rhinoceros society is more complex than it first appears. While adult males and females are largely solitary, young animals may form loose associations, particularly during the transition to independence. These groups, sometimes called crashes, provide social learning opportunities for inexperienced animals. Here, young rhinos learn the subtle arts of survival. How to read the wind, how to recognize the scent of danger, how to find the best feeding spots, and how to avoid conflict with older, more dominant animals. The hierarchy within these groups is fluid, based on size, age, and temperament, rather than rigid dominant structures. The intelligence of the rhinoceros is often underestimated, perhaps because of its reputation for aggression and its poor eyesight. However, rhinos demonstrate remarkable problem-solving abilities and possess excellent memories. They can remember the locations of water sources, feeding areas, and safe resting places across vast territories. Some rhinos have been observed using tools, such as sticks and rocks, to scratch itches or to manipulate objects. Their ability to navigate complex terrain and to adapt their behavior to changing conditions speaks to a sophisticated understanding of their environment. The horn of the rhinoceros, perhaps its most distinctive feature, is a marvel of biological engineering. Unlike the horns of cattle or antelope, which have a bony core, the rhino's horn is made entirely of keratin fibers, similar to hair or fingernails. These fibers are densely packed and fused together, creating a structure that is both flexible and incredibly strong. The horn grows continuously throughout the animal's life, adding new layers at the base while the tip wears away from use. If damaged or removed, the horn can regenerate, though it may never regain its original shape or size. The medicinal properties attributed to rhino horn in traditional medicine are entirely without scientific foundation. The horn is chemically similar to human fingernails and has no more therapeutic value than chewing one's own fingernails. Yet, the myth persists, fueled by ignorance and greed, driving a trade that has decimated rhino populations across Africa and Asia. The irony is profound. An animal that has survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and countless other natural disasters is being driven to extinction by a species that should know better. The future of the rhinoceros depends on a complex web of factors. The dedication of conservationists, the support of local communities, the enforcement of international laws, and the changing attitudes of consumers in markets where rhino horn is prized. Technology is playing an increasingly important role in conservation efforts. Satellite tracking allows researchers to monitor rhino movements and behavior in real time, while genetic analysis helps maintain the genetic diversity of small populations. Anti-poaching units use night vision equipment, helicopters, and even drones to patrol vast areas and respond quickly to threats. Community-based conservation programs have shown particular promise, recognizing that local people are the ultimate guardians of wildlife. When communities benefit economically from the presence of rhinos, through tourism or sustainable hunting programs, they become powerful allies in conservation efforts. The transformation of former poachers into wildlife guardians is one of the most hopeful developments in rhino conservation, demonstrating that attitudes can change when people are given alternatives and incentives. The story of the rhinoceros is ultimately a story about choices. Every day, decisions are made that will determine whether future generations will know the thrill of encountering these magnificent creatures in the wild. The rhino's fate is intertwined with the fate of the African bush itself. With the vast landscapes that nurture countless other species, and with the ancient rhythms of life that have sustained this ecosystem for millions of years. In protecting the rhinoceros, we protect not just a single species, but an entire world of interconnected life. To witness a rhinoceros in the wild is to glimpse a living relic, a creature whose lineage stretches back millions of years, whose presence is a reminder of the power and fragility of nature. Its journey is written in the dust and the mud, in the scars on its skin and the curve of its horn, in the silent paths it follows through the bush. The rhinoceros endures, a symbol of strength and resilience, of the wild places that still remain, and of the choices that will shape the future of Africa's great beasts. As the sun sets over the African landscape, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, the rhinoceros continues its eternal journey through the bush. Its massive form moves with surprising grace through the gathering dusk, following paths worn smooth by generations of its kind. In the distance, the calls of other creatures echo across the savanna. The laugh of a hyena, the roar of a lion, the trumpeting of an elephant. The rhino's ears swivel toward these sounds, processing the information, cataloging the dangers and opportunities of the approaching night. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chapters in the ancient story of survival. The rhinoceros, guardian of the African bush, will face them as it always has, with patience, with strength, and with the quiet dignity that has carried it through the ages. As our journey through the realm of the Big Five draws to a close, we must confront an uncomfortable truth that shadows every frame of this natural drama. The human impact on these magnificent creatures represents perhaps the greatest challenge they have faced in their millions of years of existence. Our species, arriving as recent newcomers to the African stage, has fundamentally altered the rules of survival that once governed this ancient ecosystem. The statistics tell a sobering story. African elephant populations have declined by over 60% in the last decade. Victims of ivory poaching that treats their tusks as commodities rather than evolutionary marvels. The rhinoceros faces an even more precarious future, with some subspecies already extinct and others hanging by a thread as thin as the horn that has become their curse. Lions, once ruling territories that spanned continents, now survive in fragmented pockets of their former domain, their roars silenced by the advance of human settlement. Yet within this crisis lies a glimmer of hope. The same intelligence that created the threats now works to address them. Conservation programs, anti-poaching initiatives, and habitat restoration projects represent humanity's attempt to atone for past mistakes. Local communities, once excluded from conservation efforts, now participate as partners in protecting the wildlife that shares their ancestral lands. The Big Five, resilient survivors of countless natural catastrophes, may yet adapt to the greatest challenge of all: coexistence with humanity in the 21st century. The African sun sets on another day in the realm of the Big Five, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson that have remained unchanged since the dawn of time. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new struggles, and new opportunities for these magnificent creatures to demonstrate the resilience that has made them legends. In their survival lies not just the future of African wildlife, but a reflection of our own capacity to choose between destruction and stewardship, between conquest and coexistence. The Big Five will endure as they have endured for millions of years, carrying within their genes the wisdom of ages and the promise of tomorrow. In their footsteps, we find not just the story of Africa's greatest animals, but the story of life itself, with all its beauty, brutality, and endless capacity for wonder. Stunned by the raw power and fragile beauty of Africa's Big Five, which of these legends speaks to you the most? Is it the silent stealth of the leopard, the sheer force of the buffalo, the ancient wisdom of the elephant, the royal might of the lion, or the armored resilience of the rhino? Share your thoughts in the comments. We would love to know which of these giants captured your heart. And if the wild still calls to you, do not just watch. Step into the journey with us. Subscribe and stay close, because there is so much more of this untamed world waiting to be explored together.